Cam, when you think about what Franco did for this organization, what do you think of when you heard the news today?
Personally, I developed a friendship with him, and every time I got to talk to him, he always had a smile on his face. You could talk about the player he was on the field, and without him, there is no dynasty. Because he kind of was a jumping off point for that group. But then you talk about the man off the field, and to know that the standard was set with guys like him, and the way he was involved in the community, and the way he always invited everybody to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was, I think it's just, Franco meant so much to so many people, and it's, he lived a full life, and, I think a lot of people are going to miss him.
Cam, he was a guy of great presence. You remember the first time you met him or saw him, what your reaction was?
The first time to the last time, I just, I don't think anything ever changed. You always felt it was genuine. You knew he loved to have fun. It's bad because, I was talking to him yesterday, and he was just telling me, you still wouldn't be able to touch me just in practice if he was practicing. And I'm just like, Franco, you're not even playing football right now. But, he had a competitive spirit, and you just felt like he wanted to be there for you, and he wanted to just, interact. And I can't say enough about the people he, represented, and the people who got a chance to meet him, because, I don't think they're just putting anybody up in the airport. Franco was the guy, and for as many accolades as he got, he always deflected to so many other people. And, it was a pleasure to just meet him. And the way he went about respecting people after him, I thought was incredible. It could be one of those things where I won and you got to do it my way. He always welcomed everybody, and he always had the utmost respect for every player, every person in the city. I know you guys can attest to this because there was just a level of just humility when you talk to Franco, and we lost a good one today.
Cam, did you have a specific memory or interaction that you remember most with him?
We were doing this big long skit before the season, and Franco was just all into it. He's giving suggestions, and I'm like, Franco, we could just do this, and he's like, no, we got to get into it, and everybody's got into it, and he just always wanted everybody to be part of the group, and just talking to Franco, you just felt like you were at home, and it didn't matter where you guys have been. It was just like you pick up your conversation.
Did you see him here yesterday? Was he here, or did you talk to him?
Unfortunately, I was doing my podcast with him, and just Franco was special.
Cam, how do you feel like Franco sort of set the tone for what it means to be a Steeler in the community and off the field, and did you take anything from him in that regard?
Yeah, you look at Franco, I think everybody knows that Franco, not only for the work he did on the field, but off the field, I think he was there making change, being involved in anything he could. I think that's the way that group was represented. You look at me and Joe and guys like him, and Franco, I felt like led the charge in that front. Outspoken, didn't hide behind anything, but was a person of the people.
Cam, in that way, did he sort of almost invent the Steeler way, the way he and me and Joe, did they sort of, when we talk about that now, did it really sort of start with that with him?
It did start with them. I think, before they really started winning, before he was drafted, they were a tough group, but they didn't win the games they were supposed to. And then when Franco got along, they go 11-3. He has an unbelievable play. And you just saw the trajectory take off from there. It wasn't just a tough group, it was a tough and winning group. And then you just say, they were a tough winning group, but they didn't just win on the field, they went off the field. And, the way they interacted with people, the way the city always got behind them, that set the way for any player after. And we were just fortunate enough to, be a part of an organization that, great men are a part of. And, you walk in and you see those 6 Lombardis and you say Franco is a real reason because of that.
Is Franco the reason for the Raiders-Steelers rivalry too? Trying to bend it around to this week.
Yeah, you can bend it around. I think when you look at it, that play is going to stand out. And someone had to win and someone had to lose. And I think when you look at those two teams, that's where the rivalry started.
Have you studied that rivalry at all in the 70s? Did you see it?
Yeah, I've seen that. My dad was really good friends with Jack Tatum. And, Jack Tatum went to Ohio State. And, there's a rivalry there for a reason. And then, if you go back to that game, it was 6-0, and then Stabler takes them down, they take the lead, and then, you get a crazy play like that, man, you're asking for fireworks after that game.
What did Jack Tatum tell your dad about the play?
The Raiders have a different saying for what happened in that game, but I like to think what the ref said was true.
Cam, you mentioned that not just anybody gets their statue at the airport. What does it mean to you when you see the statue, and does it think it'll take on greater meaning now when you fly through and you see it?
I tell my son, like, when we pass it, that's Franco, and he's like, oh, that's Franco, like, and I show him the play, and like, that play just represents Pittsburgh, and you come to the airport, you understand that you're not only just taking on the Steelers' personality, you're taking on a guy like Franco's personality, a hard-working guy, someone who came to work every day trying to get better, it's always going to represent our city. I'd be very upset if they ever took that down.
Do you realize how that changed the culture of this city? They had never won a playoff game till that play. And that turned, with everything going on in the steel industry, that turned the city around.
I think it was just a springboard. You make your way to the championship, you lose, but the way they won, it was the kicking off of some sort to, on to bigger and better things. And you just felt like, when you look at it, that Franco was a real reason because of it.
Obviously, this weekend coming in, how much of your significance does this have for you this week?
The only way we can display that is in our preparation and be ready for the game. Of course, we're going to honor him. Of course, we're going to pay tribute. But you don't want to let a guy like that down.
Cam, I know you touched on it a little bit earlier about the schedule release thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a fun part?
It was, because he was so into it. And Franco's giving suggestions, and he's just wanted to be part of it more and more. And you could have a guy come in and be like, man, why am I doing this? But like Franco fully embodied like getting into character and having fun with it.
He opened his house for you, said, come on over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's special. Pittsburgh legend, and it's sad.
For most people, you mentioned the Steelers, of course, the pro football, but at Penn State, at Penn State, big figure is he there?
Yeah. He's a big figure everywhere in the state of Pennsylvania, I think. Just his pictures in the building at Penn State. He's well known at Penn State, obviously, and every Penn Stater knows Franco Harris, and his legacy is just as big at Penn State as it is at Pittsburgh.
When you announced your selection, did you think, okay, Penn State guy, or was it?
Yeah, no, I instantly knew. I was a little mad at him that he pronounced my last name wrong. Still good. Freiermuth or something like that. But he always gave him crap about that, and he was always funny about it. I remember the first thing I met him, I talked to him after I got drafted. He apologized for pronouncing my last name wrong, but he's a great guy.
Did he tell you anything about playing tight end at Penn State?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I didn't know that. He said that he started playing off tight end and he wasn't too good at it, and so he moved to running back, and rest is history.
Was there any morning meeting or anything? Somebody addressed it?
No. I mean, it was news, and just gotta go from there.
Do you think that gave him a better appreciation for your position, and did he express that?
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think the stories I've heard, especially from Wolf and especially from guys that played with him, was he had appreciation for every position. and he had a way about doing it where he joked around with the O-line. I mean, Wolf was just telling me on the field and told me last week and stuff. There's a funny story of him. You know, I guess he broke some record or whatever, and he came back in the huddle, and they stopped the game and gave him the ball or whatever, and he went back in the huddle, and he looked at his O-line and was like, guys, I would have broken faster if you guys would have ran hard or something like that. So there's just a way about doing things that there's a lot to like about him.
He came to your radio show?
Yeah, he was there
How'd
last
that
Tuesday.
happen? Do you invite
Yes,
him or you just
yeah.
show up?
So he had a event or something from his marinara sauce, and it was at the same place we had it a couple hours before, and he actually stayed, I guess, another extra 30 minutes to sign autographs and to stay for the show, and me and Wolf had him on, and he sure did talk a lot. And he loved talking, but it was cool just to have him, and that's the kind of guy he is. You know, he was late at night, and he could have gone home and did whatever and went to bed, but he wanted to stay after and share the stories with me and Wolf and the fans, so just kind of a testament to who he is.
It kind of sets an example for you as a kind of an ambassador that he was for the game and the whole city.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you go everywhere. I mean, you fly into Pittsburgh and you see his statue in the Pittsburgh airport. Like, no other places have that. And he means so much to Pittsburgh, and I mean, it's obviously cool for, you know, me personally because I had a relationship with him, but everyone in the locker room, you know, they know Franco Harris. He's been around all the time, and, you know, he's one of the first people that I was told to follow his legacy, to be a Steeler and how it is and how it looks.
There's another statue at some guy, I don't know.
Yeah, George Washington.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, no one really pays attention to him.
They added a third one to you.
Yeah, oh, they did?
Yes.
Who?
Personally to you.
Yeah.
Is that the most iconic play in football? Immaculate
Oh
reception?
my God.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely iconic. You know, when I was asked the best football player, definitely, obviously, Immaculate Reception came right to mind.
Did you talk to him and meet with him many times?
Huh?
Did you talk with him and meet him more than a number of times?
Yeah. He opened up his house to me. Me and him and his wife had dinner a bunch. We hung out at the spring game at Penn State in his box. And, we did a bunch of things. Went to different events together. And it's sad. And just waking up to the news this morning, especially this weekend coming up. He's not might be there in person, but he's going to be there, you know, in heaven. And it's sad.
That's on my list, Nick.